Now we are going to talk about the reproductive phases of life in humans. So we see that the reproductive phase that is called as, it mainly consists of fertility period. So fertility period is that in which like a period under which an organism have capacity to produce young one. So fertility period is that in which the humans have capacity to produce young one. So we see that in males actually the period is not so restricted, and they are capable of producing the young one by copulating with female up to you can say a age of 50 or 50, 55 or 60. So that means there is not a fixed age by which we can say that after that the male cannot copulate with female or cannot produce the young one. But in female there is a certain fertility period decided, which starts from 12 to 13 years of age and extend up to 45 to 50 years. This starting age is called as the fertility period, and it extends up to 45 to 50, and after 50, like up to 50 you can say, after 50 onwards you can say, there occur a menopause. Menopause is actually a age after which the female cannot produce egg or cannot give birth to a young one, because there is no egg formed in the ovaries. So if there is no egg, so that means no mating with sperm, no development of zygote, no development of baby, nothing. So that means the female cannot get pregnant after 50 years of age, because she cannot produce the egg in her body. But still we get to see certain exceptions, because you may read an articles like that a female with 62 years of age give birth to a young one. So there may be there might be an exception, I am not denying this fact, but still the age of the menopause which is being decided is the 50 years, right, in females. Like, so during this period, that is from 12 to 50 years, there occur a menstrual cycle in female. In female. So I am just going to discuss in a outline, I am just going to explain you in outline that how this actually occurs, and what does in the menstrual cycle, what changes occur in the menstrual cycle. Though it is not included so much in at your level, but still you should know. So I am just going to outline it, that what kind of changes do we get to see in female. So you know that female possess ovaries, you all know that there are 2 ovaries in female, right. So what happened in ovaries, there are a lot of you can say these cellular structures are developing. These cellular structures are called as Graafian follicles. These cellular structures are called as Graafian follicles. In this Graafian follicles, the ovum is developing, that is an egg is developing. In these Graafian follicles, the ovum or egg is developing, but means it is at developing stage. We cannot say that all the ovums are fully developed, they are under developing stage. And they are also surrounded by number of cells which are just helping them to, the ovum to you can say become mature. So this is all about Graafian follicles. So I think you got it, that we have 2 ovaries, and in ovaries there are so many cellular structures which are developing, and those cellular structures are enclosing a ovum or an egg surrounded by many other eggs that are just facilitating the growth of the ovum. And they also release a hormone, this Graafian follicle release a hormone, that is the female sex hormone, that is called as estrogen. They are releasing the estrogen, and obviously you know that this hormone is responsible for the secondary sexual characters. So the facilitation of this hormone actually, this thing you can say that it is facilitating the development of secondary sexual characters in females. So this is what is occurring in the ovary. Now this Graafian follicle means 1 to 14 days of a month to make the ovum mature. So we can say at 14th day actually ovum gets mature. At 14th day the ovum gets mature. At the 14th day ovum gets mature. And what happens, suppose I am drawing a structure for an ovary, the female reproductive tract, it is like this. This is an uterus, this is cervix, and this. So what happened in here, the ovum gets only you can say that like the ovum gets mature, alternate from an ovary. Suppose if ovum is getting mature from this ovary, so in the next month it is going to get mature from the other ovary. So when this ovum gets mature, it is ovulated, means it is ovulated, means ovulation means release of ovum from ovary, and like where it lies in ovary, obviously in Graafian follicle, from ovary into fallopian tube. So that means this mature ovum, suppose I say that this Graafian follicle gets mature, so it releases its ovum into a fallopian tube. This is called as ovulation. And the time of the, from the time of the ovulation, what happened? The uterine wall start getting thicker. The uterine wall starts getting thicker. Now from 14th day, like on 13th or 14th day, it moves to a uterus. It moves to a uterus. It stays here for let's say that 48 to 72 hours. Let's say that till 16th day it stays here. Till 16th day stays in the uterus, and it waits for the sperm to get it fertilized. But if there is no sperm which enters into an uterine tract or into a female reproductive tract, then from 16th day it starts degenerating. It starts degenerating. Right. And one more thing, like when this Graafian follicle release an egg, like when an ovulation occurs, so that means this egg is being released into fallopian tube. Now the left thing is not called as Graafian follicle. After the release, the cellular structure is called as corpus luteum. Is called as corpus luteum. After the release, like when the egg is developing, it is called as Graafian follicle, and once the matured egg is released into fallopian tube, that's it, then the remaining cellular structure without an egg is called as corpus luteum, and it starts secreting a hormone that is called as progesterone. Then there is a release of another hormone after from this Graafian follicle, which is turned into corpus luteum, that is progesterone. And then as I told you that like from 14th day it starts moving and it gets settled in the uterus, until 16th day, like from the time it has moved to the uterus, from that time means you can say from that time to 48 to 72 hours, it keeps on waiting for the sperm to get it fertilized. But if in case there is no sperm which enters into the female reproductive tract, then it starts degenerating, and like meanwhile the thickening of uterine wall continues. It almost gets 10 times thicker than its original wall. The thickening is almost 10 times than the actual wall. Then on 28th day, this degenerating continues from 16 to 28th day, and on 28th day everything shed off, that is the ovum, all the blood vessels that are formed in this uterine part, all the thickenings that is being formed in the uterus from the time of the ovulation, everything sheds off, and in the form of blood it is bleeded out through vagina, and this is called as menstrual flow, and this is a menstrual cycle that keeps on repeating. Now after the menstrual flow that is from 3 to 5 days, then after that some other Graafian follicle from an alternate ovary will get mature, and the same thing is going to happen, that is from 1 to 14 days it will take to get mature, then ovulation followed by the thickening, then it is going to move into uterus, it is going to wait there for 48 to 72 hours for a sperm, and when there is no sperm which enters, it is going to degenerate and everything will shed off in the form of blood, that is the ovum, the blood vessels, the thickenings of the uterine, everything is going to get removed from the uterus in the form of blood, and in this bleeding is going to last for 3 to 5 days. And the starting of this flow, that is from 12 to 13 years, indicates puberty, and this period is called as menarche. And the stoppage that occur at 45 to 50 years of age, that is called as menopause. After that it indicates that no egg is getting matured in the ovary, so no egg maturation, no egg formation, no ovulation, and so that means no chance of producing a young one. So this is all about the reproductive phases of life, but as it is much complicated in case of female, it is not so complicated in case of male. It is just a matter of formation of sperm sperms, and it is not a, you can say a well cut age is there that after that the boy is not going to produce sperm. So actually the fertility period for the boys lasts much longer than the females. So females, you got it, that what is the menstrual cycle and what is the menstrual flow, when does it start, when does it end, and what is the after effect, like when it ends the girl cannot produce, the woman cannot produce egg, so that means cannot produce a young one. So this is, you should be familiar with menarche and menopause, because you may get a question for 1 mark that what is menarche or what is menopause. So this is all. And one more thing, you should know about corpus luteum also. Please don't ignore it, because this is an important, children often ignore this part, and but this is very important. You should know that Graafian follicle secrete hormone estrogen, and after the release of egg, Graafian follicle is being given a special name, that is corpus luteum, and the hormone that it secrete after the formation, after it becomes corpus luteum, is progesterone, right. So this is all about the reproductive phases of life.